Yes, boys, the film podcast, an amateur film study podcast for the average Joe, the buffest buffs, and the cringiest bingers. I'm your host, JP, and I'm joined by my brother, professional Hollywood videographer,
Kory with a story. Welcome back to one of the most awe-inspiring episodes you've ever seen. And really, some inspiring... There's so many farts, but one of those things inspired the notable smooth pants.
Yeah, me and Riss watched, when we watched one of these films, we were like, whoa, this is very reminiscent. It's happier. It's more positive, but it's very reminiscent of
you see
a couple of pairs of pants that I know.
But yeah,
today is an exciting day. This is an episode that Kory has been wanting to do for a while. And I finally made it to the theaters, actually, just the other day. So yeah, we're talking about Daniels. Really hard for me to not say the. Every time it's like Pixies. I think that's what they're going for. Like because you know how many bands are like the Beatles, but then their Pixies was just it's just a plural noun, and that's what Daniels is, and I can feel that.
Justin Timberlake walked in the room and just said, "Drop the," and they all did it.
I think that's what it's reminiscent of, is Pixies. That's what I would assume, or band names like that. But I think that it's cool because it's like an art collective. And I think when there's a duo, people do kind of boil it down to the Coen brothers, the Wachowskis.
This is more of an entity than people.
Yeah, it makes it seem like an art collective. Or like there could be who knows how many Daniels are involved in this crew.
Have like the Josh fight, but with Daniels.
So, do you want to give any kind of introduction about about Daniels, or
The only thing I knew really going into I saw Swiss Army Man over the pandemic, and prior to that, I had not heard of them, and I didn't even, after watching Swiss Army Man, I didn't realize that it was done by Daniels. Because I don't know, I just didn't really look at it. I just heard it was good, and I had seen the trailer for it, and it looked good and funny. And then I was on a job earlier this year, and I was showing somebody Smooth Pants, and they said, "Oh, this reminds me so much of Daniels. Are you a huge Daniels fan?" And I said, "I don't know what movies." And Swiss Army Man, and it was very mind exploding because I'm a huge fan of the movie, and it influenced like a whole direction of like how I like to shoot stuff now. I can see it now, absolutely. And I mean, I knew that's what you were doing going into it, but you kind of forget about it when you get so focused on your project. So yeah, the Daniels are made up of two Daniels, Dan Kwan, and Daniel Schneinert. And they write and direct their films. They apparently began as music video directors. Kory, you mentioned before the podcast they did Turn Down for What? Yeah, that was like their
John
biggest.
And DJ Snake.
Yeah. And they did some Manchester Orchestra videos, and I think they had one more notable name. I remember here.
The Wikipedia says Foster the People, The Shins, Tenacious D.
That's it. Tenacious D was one I was thinking of.
They co-founded a group called We Direct Music Videos, and described as a global community of music video directors who are committed to sustainable directorial labor practices. So that's cool. So what I know them for is Swiss Army Man, and through one of the more well-known A24 films, especially at the time. And then I was also familiar with The Death of Dick Long. I have not seen it, but it has been on my list to see. My long mythologized A24 binge that I never finished. But I think this is motivating me now that I keep seeing the new ones that are coming out, and it's just like, man, there's only like 10 that you haven't seen. Just close it out. It's like I am with video games, like a Skyrim kind of a
Yeah,
game. I will play 150 hours, but I will not finish it somehow. I'll play 300 hours. I'll be so thorough and completionist, and then I'll get to the
yeah.
end and I'm just like, I'm bored. I can't do anymore. Like I just don't want to do anymore.
I do that with
Uh,
every single one of games like story-driven games I played. I did that with Horizon Zero Dawn. I did that with Red Dead. I still haven't beat Red Dead Redemption, and I put in 110 hours in that. But I'll play a Doom for 120 and still go back to it constantly.
Yeah,
And I,
just real quick, and then we can get back to the movies. But Riss says that it is like some kind of fear of finishing things, and
yeah,
you don't want a thing that you really enjoy to end. But part of it is that if it's really long, I get sick of it. But I've made an effort to go back and finish games.
mm,
Like I finished a few games that I had put off, and it feels good. It feels good. It's there's like
yeah,
emotional, there's bittersweetness, but it feels good, and I feel like that's how that project will feel. But
for sure.
these two were on part of that binge, I've so I really love the style, and I knew that it was a big deal when Swiss Army Man came out because it was getting a lot of press because people were like, Harry Potter's doing something weird. Like he's funny and weird, and and just like the
Art.
world didn't know what to do with it for like a second. Um, they're just like there's actually multiple movies that Daniel Radcliffe has done, where there's like a viral image that came out from the set where he's just doing
Mm,
something crazy and weird. I know that
like that with
he did
Horns.
like weird theater stuff where he got naked like immediately after Harry Potter was done.
It's like,
Um,
oh, my contract's over. Now I can show my dick.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that Daniel Radcliffe's career is interesting because I think he did try to do the Robert Pattinson thing. He just wasn't quite as successful, I think, with it. But I think he's still a good actor and an interesting. He could be an interesting character actor, and I think that's what he wants to be, rather than a leading man.
Mm.
But because of Harry Potter, he's gonna be getting them parts.
Yeah, he
Um,
was around this time, either before or after. It was right after his Harry Potter shit was over. He was in that movie Horns, and that was like in this vein of like indie, low budget. And man, was that movie like good? And then the ending just got super weird. He just like goes full like devil cosplay, like makeup shit, and it's just so weird. But he does such a good job, and it was his first film doing an American accent. Um, and so it's jarring, but it's good.
yeah, you're right. Horns is one of the early ones. Yeah, he has a bunch of shit like that though. Um,
It's good though. I'd recommend seeing it. Like it might you might I think you might find parts of it kind of like cringe,
oh, absolutely.
but it's still pretty good.
I remember that Guns Akimbo movie that came out like
Oh,
three
I heard that
years
was
ago now.
terrible.
It was like in production forever.
I heard
I
it's not
remember they
good.
showed an image with him with them guns on his hands like in like 2016.
Yeah.
And it just like never came out. Yeah, he's in some weird shit. Playmobil the movie, God, that can't be good. And Now You See Me Too. All I can think of when hear Now You See Me Too is the Dan Harmon bit where he's like, "Why the fuck wouldn't you make the sequel to Now You See Me Now Now You Don't instead of
Yeah,
Now You
I don't
See Me Too?"
yeah, it's the dumbest thing. Commercial marketing is terrible.
Now You See Me Too. All right. We are enough Harry Potter or enough Daniel Radcliffe. Also,
Uh,
I guess we're just gonna. You want to just move into Swiss Army Man? I think we're
yeah,
ready.
yeah.
Paul
Body.
Dano also stars. And Paul Dano is obviously our golden boy. Recently in the Batman, but in a million great roles in films. Probably one of my honestly emerging as one of my favorite actors, definitely of the 21st century. Um, and then
Man,
Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in a small role in this movie.
oh yeah,
Um,
that is her.
yes, yeah,
Uh,
it's like interesting that they even got like they could have got anybody to do that part, but it's cool that it is her. I guess her picture and like the little clips of like the flashbacks of her on the
Mm.
bus or throughout the movie. She just doesn't
Yeah.
really talk. Um, but Ramona Flowers or whatever. So that
Great
was
movie.
the introduction. I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I apologize. But what did you think? Obviously, they know you liked it, but what did you think about Swiss Army Man?
I was it is the perfect blend of emotion, comedy. Not the perfect, but it's up there for one of my favorite blends of like emotion, comedy, phenomenally clean cinematography, and in the musical element to it, which I normally don't like musicals, but it's all this a cappella stuff transitioning you from scene to scene. It's so good. And it's just and probably one of its best qualities is its low runtime. It ends up being just this perfect like palatable watch of just everything I think you would want in a movie, but it all just blends so well together. That in this like the way that the end wraps up in this just kind of like emotional tear jerk kind of like everything's gonna be okay moment, and it's just so good. I love so much of this movie.
Yeah, and I mean the movie starts with a really basic premise.
Mm.
And like I remember when it happened, Riss, who I was watching it with, she said something like, "Oh wow, they're doing this already." Like when um he's riding on the fart boat.
Yeah,
And cuz like that's like the big scene
the
from the
trailer.
trailers. So it's like, oh, could this be a snow dog thing? Is this just a small part? And then it's gonna just be about something else. Um, but
No
no,
dog.
it literally lives up to that, and kind of keeps the bit. I feel like I could have seen this starting as a sketch,
Mm.
and then it just kind of got like pulled and pulled, and or just like the idea got bigger and bigger because you could keep adding on to it. And then I
Mm.
like the way that they did the ending because it's like, how do you end a story like this? And then with all the ambiguity and is it real or is it what's real and what's not? And you're questioning like the entire film, after it's ending. It just like how you said it earlier, like it's a really nice balance of depth, emotional depth, and fun and happiness and I don't know. I feel like their movies, at least these two, are really accessible to
Mm.
everybody. And like the runtime on this one, I think you could just show it to anybody and they're not gonna get bored.
Mm.
Like they're gonna be entertained and they're gonna have a good time and yeah. I don't know. It's a really cool style and it makes sense. Like it feels like this is something that millennials would make. Um, and it seems like it's got its influences and whatnot, like cartoons, or like I don't know. It's a mixture of fun and like heaviness, and then also like dirtiness, like there's swearing and there's sexual stuff and whatnot. It's not like a family. Honestly, these two films could be family films if they were just like adjusted a bit,
Yeah.
um, to be PG-13, but
Mm.
but they don't compromise that, and I think that's ultimately a good thing. It's kind of like an Adult Swim like cartoon, but not one of the weird like freaky ones,
Mm.
like abstract freaky ones, just like one of the more like Rick and Morty ish kind of a thing.
Mm.
And like I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I think that is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean that's is definitely the comparisons are definitely there. You can see, especially with the way that that show does their like other world or other dimension like little things where it just pops in for especially with the latter film of the two. But even with something like Swiss Army Man, it keeps that same kind of like this is dumb but also smart humor at the same time, where it's like not so dumb it's smart, but like it's hard to explain, but the way they do it with the visuals mixed in with just like what is actually happening, it's just done in such a way where you feel so much more weight to it rather than just looking at it as slapstick humor. Um,
Swiss Army Man, I see definitely more of like a twee, like a Wes Anderson kind of a influence. Whereas, um, Whereas Everything Everywhere All at Once, I feel more of like a more adventure influence, like like Spielberg or like Marvel movies, like a mixture of that kind of stuff. And I but there's still like the same through line through them. Like there was a point in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm like, oh, this feels just like Swiss Army Man, or like the humor of it is very similar.
Yeah.
I just and like the music is a really defining thing about this movie. I think the music and the colors are and like the way that it's colored are like two of the big defining things. Like I think they're like what make the movie in my
Mm.
opinion. It is like they wouldn't be the same without the ridiculously silly music, and the lyrics are just like really dumb sometimes, but it sounds epic. And if you like listen to the lyrics too hard, you're gonna hear something that makes you laugh because it's
Yeah.
silly. I like the balance of silliness to depth. It's like childlike wonder to like heavy thoughts, like like a child dealing with the heavy thoughts of an adult, of
Mm.
existence and mortality and whatever.
Yeah.
The meaning of life. Both of these movies have meaning of life kind of shit in them.
Mm.
Um, Paul Dano's character like needs something to go on. He's ready to give up and kill himself. And in the beginning, we think he's just a castaway on an island, some tropical island, and then we find that he's been in the woods behind this girl's house the whole
Just
time.
with a dead body and fucking an entire like little house worth of sets.
Yeah, like crafts, all these
Yeah.
crafts. Um,
Mm, oh my gosh. Yeah, this is that whole ending goes such a wild way that I feel like it can't go any other way than that. And I do like that they left the ending weirdly vague, but like the thing with his dad at the end when he's on the crutches is wild. That whole thing, and then they think he's the stalker. I don't know. That's just the whole thing is
yeah,
just so
when
well
they don't
done.
explicitly tell you why he's on the run or why he left
Yeah.
or like by the end of it, you're starting to wonder Paul Dano might be just a fucking crazy person.
Yeah,
Uh,
it seems, I took it more as like he's a stalker and he's a creep. Like he's
he
the
is the
lurker.
creep that yeah, no, yeah, and then
He's
he just
Andrew
rides,
Elford.
and then he doesn't ride away, but the body farts away in the water. Um,
Makes him all forgiven.
yeah. It's just a really really good time. And it's very fun. Yeah, I wanted to mention there's a big Castaway influence on this film.
Mm.
The Tom Hanks movie, and then you just replace Wilson the ball with Daniel Radcliffe, Manny the dead man, and and just like really make it ridiculous and it's silly, and then it's just I think that premise stretched out into a full film, a feature length, and I think that it works. And it absolutely works, and it's really fun and special. And I feel like I would want to show a kid this if it didn't have the erection stuff, which I don't care. I think that's funny, but I can see like a big potential. Like Hollywood might really want to throw these guys some money after everything
Oh,
everywhere all at once.
oh, for sure. Especially when we'll talk about it, but what the budget was of that movie for how big it looks.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
it's
uh-huh.
insane to me. But what I was gonna say was I love the part, and it took me. I don't know why I didn't pick up on it the first two times, but when he's trying to get his special compass back, and he's carrying him like on his back, but front facing, like Daniel Radcliffe's going nut to butt. And Devon was like, "Come on, bud, I can't feel your special compass anymore." And it's fucking he's weighing on how his boner was pressed up against his body, so he
Yeah.
could feel the direction that it turns to figure out where to go.
Yeah, yeah, we were talking about
Oh,
that. We were talking about
so
that.
clever. Oh,
Yeah,
so
they're
clever.
weird, very weird relationship. Um,
So yeah, all there's so much. I mean, Paul Dano just has so much like self reflection in this girl's backyard for what feels like days, weeks.
Just playing with a dead body.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, this whole thing is just like him working through how to just like be better, be a better person, and be better about like how to like
Yeah,
find
it's
stuff.
self-reflective, like trying to
It just
improve.
sucks that it happened all in the backyard of the girl that he's obsessed with. What a bad place and time to do
Yeah,
it.
it's like too late. Like you figured it out, and but you've kind of already done a weird thing.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great, and I can see like the budget of this is $3 million.
that's all you need.
That's what I say. Like you can do a lot with it, especially if you only need two. Your cast is three actors,
Yeah,
and then about some extras. You're pretty much golden there. And yeah, it can be done. It can be done. I feel like this movie should be inspiring to um
so much. Both of these are so.
filmmakers, to aspiring filmmakers. So
Um,
I don't. I feel like I don't have a whole lot to say about Swiss Army Man, other than that it's a lot of fun. It's like these movies just really fit together. So like the themes of them kind of overlap, and it's just the style of the film. Like this is a like black comedy, absurdist black comedy is what Wikipedia says. Definitely a black comedy, and it's just a lot of fun. It's very, very fun. And everything all at once is very fun, but it is more like a epic adventure film.
mm,
And you're right. Something about it makes it feel uh so big. And I'm excited to talk about it. So I think that's what my issue is now. Um moments any particular moments in the film you want to point out?
I wanted to, real quick was to go along with how this movie just runs so smoothly and goes so well is the way that that Daniels like the way that they shot this, um, where you have these moments of just like this high shutter speed freneticness where it feels like they're shooting at like a high frame rate for slow mo, but they just left it at the regular speed, if that makes sense. But it
Yeah.
happens so much on those like those quick montages when they're like Paul Dano's building shit in the woods and stuff, or just like using
Yeah,
the
yeah, you're right. You're
it's
right.
so like so frenetic, and it just feels like the way it cuts is so much like energy in it that it just feels a lot more. It feels like you feel like a lot is going on, even if it's not, and it's done in a really good way that keeps the pacing interesting. Like it's another shiny thing to like keep you like paying attention to. If
Yeah.
especially if the all the talking and more slower moments like are boring or like bogging you down.
Yeah, it cuts. Yeah, it has nice peaks and valleys of like quiet moments, uh and like the quiet moments have jokes in them, and it's like there's always something leading to something. I was gonna say I this watch more than the last time I did think about, like, this definitely feels like a music video directors like made this movie, which is how much it relies on the music being all the audio, and like how many montage there's several montages in the film. And honestly that would be my main criticisms of it, is like it does just kind of devolve into a montage, a music montage, song kind of thing, where they're like traveling or building things, and then like this, a little dialogue moment between the two, and it kind of keeps on going until we kind of get to the end, and then it finds a way to end pretty not abruptly or anything, but quickly.
Yeah, I get what you mean. The it's because it's a lot of it is just kind of not repetitive, but the you're just seeing
Like I'm not bored
essentially
with it.
no, but you are just seeing like this like the same kind of feeling at every time one of those. It's like it's not formulaic, not to say it's formulaic, but like there is a pattern of just kind of like it's like long, quiet reflection mixed in with like comedy dialogue between the two. Then something happens, kick off a song that kicks off a montage that transitions us into the next scene, and then another like die down point. Um, so I get that it doesn't. There's no turn to something like drastically different. It stays on course pretty much like tonally through the whole
Yeah,
film.
sometimes I think it needed something else, but then I remember the bear scene, but like was like kind of not fully satisfied by it for some reason. Like that was when the movie was starting to get away a little bit. But I know that you needed something else because it could, or if you didn't have that, it literally would have just been them, the music montages and traveling and the quiet moments on the way. You needed some kind of conflict, and like the falling off of the bridge or the pipe or whatever it was. So I think it was just honestly the probably stems from the constraints of the budget and the size, the scope and size, and then this definitely has a big feeling for how um for how it is, for how small it is, and I think they did like the most that they could do with it, and I think that's why it's so
Yeah.
good. And I like it as much as I think it just doesn't make it a 5 for me, but, or whatever. It doesn't might not make it the max score, but it's still a great film that they made it with not a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that with how like high end it is, like DP on this, Larkin Sepal, fantastic job. This movie looks so much higher budget than it is because of uh, how clean this movie looks. It looks so. It looks like the budget is so much higher just because of the way that the lighting is, the way it's shot, and it's just everything is shot just very simply. It's just done it like the right way, if that makes sense. It's done
Yeah.
so well.
They also
Um,
did the cinematography for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
yeah, it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The shooting style and everything, and the lighting is just it's everything. It's fusing together what just a big budget clean look. Uh, none of the because the indie movies will do it where they're doing like either extremely old vintage lenses or they're doing all these like diffusion filters in front of the lens to get like a certain like look to make it more look like film. And both of these movies just go all in on making it look as just like clean and modern as
Yeah,
possible,
yeah, I was
like
thinking
a
about
music
that.
video would be.
Yes, I think that's what made me think of it with the. That's probably why it captured your heart so, because it's very much speaks to your approach to music video, your cinematography, and like composition in your music videos. Um, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, even before you saw this movie, I think you're already on that. You're well. That was like a established part of your shtick. That's
Yeah,
cool.
trying to do. Yeah, it's a definite look that I'm starting to like. I like that is not getting popularized, but at least it's still being used more. Where because you only really see this kind of look in like big budget Hollywood movies where everything is like super clean looking, but it ups the scale of these like smaller films so much and how big they feel.
Well, like there are
Um,
like this movie's bright and sunny and like a lot
Even though
of
it's still
green.
like
It's
it's
very
colored,
green and it's
yeah,
very bright and colorful. And I think I think that kind of look works so well for bright and colorful. Like it reminds me of the Valley music video. I
yeah.
think that it looks so good because it's so like having it so clean cinematography wise on top of it being so bright and sunny and colorful
Mm.
just really makes everything really pop.
Yeah, yeah, and it ties things together in such a nice way. That's just easy visually to understand and just take in on like the eyes and everything. Um, people recognize colors and brighter things a lot better than a film that's been like shot in the middle of the night with a crazy grain, all intentionally to get like a certain look. Which I do love the look on appropriate things, but it's just nice having it seeing something like this on something that's not skyscraper.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think we should move on here. What are you giving Swiss Army Man?
I'm 4. Really like this movie. Really,
Yeah,
actually
I'm
four and a
also
half.
I'm giving it a
Yeah.
4. Yeah, I think I remember being torn, but I think the 4 is definitely what it deserves. I wouldn't fight anything else, but it's just a really well made movie, and just nails what it's going for. It's just executed, well executed. But
I, I,
now
yeah.
you have
I think I'm
any
gonna do four. I was
final
gonna say I
thought?
think I'm be 4.5. I think it's just so good. It's I don't have that much negative to say about it.
Oh,
Uh,
Scott Pilgrim is, I think, a big influence on the style of
no, for sure.
the look. I would say more than the humor, more than the Edgar Wright in general. But in particular Scott Pilgrim with the movie we're about to talk about. That was something I was like, I kept mentioning influences because everything all at once wears them on its sleeve. And it's like does not detract from it in any way possible. And yeah, Scott Pilgrim is a big one, and it's probably one of the they don't make a lot. You think they don't make a ton of films like Scott Pilgrim, and it's so cool to see
Yeah.
that style still incorporated. But all right, everything, everywhere, all at once, just came out, and it
Good.
is stars several. It's great cast. Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Sue, Kei Hu Kwan, Jenny Slate, James Hong, and Jamie Lee Curtis. I know I flew through those, but Michelle Yeoh, you may know from A Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, as well as the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies. And she's worked in a ton of things since then, but those are like the big things that I remember. And then James Hong, do you know where he's from?
He's the blind guy on Balls of Fury. The
Correct,
Pink
correct,
movie.
correct.
I don't know why. That's what I always come back to remembering him from.
His number one role has got to be though Lo Pan from Big Trouble in Little China. He is like the main bad guy. He's like kind of has the Shang Tsung vibes. It's one of my favorite movies, Big Trouble in Little China. We will definitely be doing it on this one day. But yeah, excellent in that. And then and I'm sure, and I might be pronouncing this wrong. I honestly meant to look up the pronunciation before I started, but Kei Hee Kwan, and he is most famous for playing Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Data in the Goonies, which are two of my favorite characters ever in movies because they're so fun and hilarious. And just like great comedic timing for a kid. Yeah, as a kid, it was just like, yeah, I wish that he was my friend. Like I remember thinking that when I was a kid watching him act. Like he seemed like really fun and he was smart and clever or whatever. Like he played those characters. But apparently he stopped acting in the 90s and kind of went into the back into more behind the scenes. And I read an interview. Actually, I think it was a video interview. And he said that he saw Crazy Rich Asians and got serious FOMO, that was the verbatim quote. And then he got into this, and he was interested in projects that incorporate a lot of Asian actors and have good representation. And I think because he is a kind of character that maybe kind of got. I think a lot of minority actors experience being typecasted or stereotypical roles. Aziz Ansari talks about it a lot in that Master of None show. It makes a lot of sense. But I am glad that he's back because he's hilarious and he's great.
Oh, it's so
It's
good.
like
So good.
never missed a step.
Yeah, I feel like in 20 years he's gonna be known for this just as much as he's known for Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
This is so good. Oh, Alpha Wayman, go.
Alpha Waymond Wang.
Oh my god, it's
Yes.
so good.
It's just so good. Everyone in this cast is excellent. Everybody does really well. The movie looks great. It's so much fun. It's long, but you don't even notice a second of it. You're just along for this ride. It just feels like a roller coaster ride that you're just on, and it really does feel like an amusement park ride, but in the best way. Like people say that about Marvel movies and like a critical way. They're not films, they're not cinema. They're amusement park rides. But I think this is a movie that you are kind of like in for the twists and the turns, and it just doesn't. It's at this relentless pace that it really never lets you kind of sit with anything. There's one point it does about halfway through. It gives you a quick break, and then it just throws you right back into the multiverse, and you kind of
all over.
Poops
all over what Marvel is doing roller coaster wise.
Yes, that's what I thought. That's what I'm saying. They need to do a Marvel movie. And I hate to say it, but it's perfect match. Like I don't want to say that, but it is a perfect match.
Oh, I can't even imagine how.
Like they could be the next Russo brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so good. Oh my God, Daniels, damn Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels are definitely gonna get offered a Marvel movie. I will bet you.
Will they take it?
That's the question.
I kind of feel like they wouldn't. I feel like I would believe it if they did.
They could be James Gunn in it, man. They could be James Gunn.
I could see that. I could see that. Or you know what I could see is if they do that in return to get financing through one of the subsidiaries, because that's not Marvel, to do like another one of their own, but like with a lot more money. I could see that as a trade-off.
That's honestly, it just reminds me because I got stuck on James Gunn because I think James Gunn's probably a little bit of an influence of theirs too. You've never seen his pre-Guardians movies, huh? Oh, they're pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Slither and Super are really good. I hope we do them one day. But yeah, that's super interesting. You see what I did there? So Daniels, tell me about what do you think about Everything Everywhere All at Once? Let's get into the nit grit of it.
All right, I don't know how hot this take is going to be, but this is definitely the best movie I've seen this year, and this might be my new favorite movie of all time. I said it.
I think that knowing you that is like completely appropriate because of the style, like it's like when you find that thing that is like this is what I want to make, and it's like when you're trying to develop your own voice, artistic voice. It really like, oh, this is what I've been trying to tell you I want to do. It's like that moment. But then you have that bitter moment of like, man, they did it before me.
That's what I was about to say. It's a bittersweet because
validating, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, damn, I'm so mad that now this has already been done, but god damn, it's inspiring to know someone's willing to pay for it. And that's where I'm at with it. It's just the drive-o-meter has just been kicked back into high gear. And I just can't wait. I'm so excited. I've never been more. This movie alone has made me so inspired to just get back and just making shit all the time. Doesn't matter what it is. Just as long as I'm pumping out like a personal projects like every couple months, just to keep going and trying to do something new and pushing yourself with writing within your means. Both of these movies, especially with how well they are, with how low their budgets are perfect examples of writing within your means, knowing what you can do and accomplish, and then for Everything All at Once's sake, with 2 fucking locations and then just a bunch of random green screen vignettes, is all it takes to like make an epic movie.
There's more than 2 locations, but that's most of the movie. There's like
most of the movie. It's the laundromat, the
office,
the fucking the
IRS
the tax building. The IRS building. The donut for a little bit, but that's all green screen. That could have been all green screen.
The movie star place, the movie,
the movies, the movie star,
and then outside that theater where they have the rain scene.
But everything else is just like on a set in a green screen box, just like. It's insane. All these millions of vignettes and everything, and they're just done so well.
Yeah.
And to keep track of like none of them. Granted, this is a movie where if you blink, you miss something, but it didn't seem like anything really repeated any time they would do one of the insanely
like random like the
picture
Yeah,
flat.
it kind of reminds me of either something from Rick and Morty, but also it reminds me. God, this is gonna make me sound basic, but I actually hate these games. I don't hate these games. I don't play them a lot. I haven't played them in like a decade. But in Call of Duty Zombies, when you could get like the random gun and it would play like ice cream music, and you just
Yeah, yeah,
and it would just flash a bunch of random guns, and then it would give you one.
yeah.
I don't know why that's what it would remind me of, but it did. That and like just Rick and Morty with all the multiverse and random combinations of things, or like even Mortal Kombat, the newest one, where you could
Mm,
like get random outfits for people, like because like throughout time, like you didn't know what they were gonna look like.
mm,
Um, I don't know. That's like a multiverse is very in. It's been very in for the last like since Rick and Morty. I feel like in Marvel, and but this was like a way to do it, and it wasn't corny. Like it was really cool. It took the idea link for I think further. Um,
yeah,
and
and
it
it did
didn't
rely on time travel.
and it didn't spend a lot of time over explaining it. He literally said like it's a bunch of random stupid stuff. Like that is the world's multiverse is like just structured around random chaos, but it's silly and it's
Yeah.
fun, and you don't need to think about it too hard because it doesn't matter because it's a fun movie. It don't matter if it's the sci-fi is not real crunchy and it doesn't make perfect sense. Um, and I think
Oh,
that's the biggest strength of the movie is they can tell whatever story they want to tell, and not be weighed down by like strict rules of lore of this world. And it's genius because you can be the Matrix and you can be a comedy. You can be a Marvel comedy thing, and you can be Rick and Morty, and you just do whatever you want. Like there's just no limit
mhm.
to what you want to do, and I think it just executed to the highest degree.
Yes. The fuck, I had something to piggyback off what you were saying.
Sorry, I talked too long.
The I can't remember, but just I agree with what you're saying. That it's just a fucking uh it's just so enthralling. God, it's pissing me off that I can't remember. I just had it. Um, but it'll come back to me. Uh, what did you think about the way that it transitioned into things when it got into like in the height of like probably like I don't want to call it a climax, but like the first big like thing after she's been fighting Jamie Lee Curtis for a bit, and it's like flashing between like her and Wayman going over the divorce stuff
Yeah,
in the van, her in the closet, her whatever, and then when she's first traveling on stuff. Man, do I fucking love all the transitions of the rotating stuff where it was like the daughter does it the most, where she does that like 1 2 3 like tick tock like a clock, and at each one it's like a match cut to a different location, but it's the same thing, different person. And so like all of that stuff mixed in throughout this has just kept it so like you couldn't turn away because you could miss something. Like I watched this at the Alamo Draft House, and the when they went to bring our food in and stuff, the entire time I didn't say anything because I wanted to be mean, but I'm just like, get the fuck out of the way! I can't see. Like you're missing vital things. There's so many things flashing on the screen, so many things happening and moving, and just like you just didn't want to miss anything. And it just this movie did so good at just like hooking you with that, because it wasn't like like I could see this being overstimulating for some people, but I think it was done in a way that was like it's uh it's manageable,
I don't
but
think it's overstimulating somehow because
there's
yeah,
a
like
lot of flash of like the flash montage, like
yeah, oh yeah. Like I think if
love
you
it.
have if you are seizure, you have a seizure risk, you should probably be prepared, um, because there's going to be some flashing images, and the sequences of flashing images. But I don't think it's like so long that it's like hard on my eyes or whatever. Like I think it was cool. I think it was just cool and interesting. I love that style. I really like flashing images. Like almost like yeah, blink and you miss it. Like like subconscious subliminal programming thing.
Yeah,
Um
because like what you may see would be something of what I might have paid attention to during those flashes, and it's like
mhm.
everybody takes something away different from it. Um, which is really dope. But I wanted to ask you this, and I'm sorry if it's a little off topic. It's on topic, but a little bit of a stray. We had a conversation, me and a couple film buddies, after we saw this about like what did we think the movie was about. Um, and everybody in the room had a different thought on it, which I thought was very interesting because it
I
was
thought
like,
that it was obvious what the movie was about.
well, some people took it as like, is it about nothing matters and being okay with who you are or whatever, or is it about accepting your daughter and for who she is, or like and all that stuff,
Well,
or is
then
it
that is though accepting your daughter for who she is just a small part of it. But sorry, what was the other one?
Well, I'm trying to remember what the other one was, but it was just interesting that everybody thought that it was like everybody focused on a different thread of the story in the film and took it as that was the main line they're running with. And I think that for a movie that's called Everything Everywhere All at Once, that is so genius to have that as a takeaway from a room full of people. Because it is just
oh yeah, for sure.
at you everything all at once.
Well,
Like it's doing what its name is, and it's just so genius.
The movie is trying to tackle really big ideas and really big questions and feelings about the meaning of life and existentialism and kind of I think there's the whole rock thing, and there's like a sequence where it's quiet, there's no audio, it's just two rocks, and they have text on the screen of the rocks talking, and it's kind of like talking about feeling small, and you kind of accepting that the world and the universe is so big, and the multiverse is even bigger, and we're just these little specks, just ants living our lives, and it's kind of like accepting the smallness of life, and I think it's something that I've been struggling with a little bit, and just now that I'm out of my 20s, and some things are in the rear view or are in the rear view mirror, and I'm considering doing making bigger adult steps, and what that does and what that might change, and the finality of things and your own mortality and blah blah blah, and it just like started to feel bad, and you can kind of put yourself in a like what's the point of it all? There's nothing matters, and there's no point to anything if it doesn't add up to anything, and it doesn't matter. So then I shouldn't care. And I think that's the donut represents nihilism. And what was the daughter's character's name? Joy.
Yeah.
And she achieved this. She was able to see through the multiverse, and she just wanted to die. She wanted it to end. And once she could see how meaningless and pointless it all was, the only thing that she could respond with was finding a way to kill herself with this donut, which the donut is definitely just meant to represent nihilism. And you can choose to accept not the donut, the bagel, the bagel, and let that swallow you up, and you can either literally physically die and kill yourself, or you just let yourself wither away, and like your hope and your joy, and just kind of accept defeat of that things are going to end. And none of it matters. And the moral of the story that Evelyn and Joy then walk away with is that it's okay, and it's kind of accepting all of that, and just being kind. And there's a line that Waymond has that is like, when we don't know what's going on, or things are chaotic and bad, and we're scared that we have to just return, look back to it and return to kindness and be kind. And I think that is the moral of the story, is that in the face of the abyss and the unknown of the black abyss, which is the bagel, that we should be kind and not be afraid, and because fear makes us angry, fear makes us fight, fear makes us reject, and I think it's a commentary on society as a whole, because of fear, the way fear has made people respond to things like the pandemic, or the way our political situation is in the world, and very much America, that if we can just be kind to each other when we don't understand, until we understand that the world and our own not just the world, but I think our own personal experiences and lives will be much more enjoyable and positive as a result. So that is my summary, not short, but my summary of what the movie meant and was about.
Yeah, I that is so relevant, especially nowadays. Because while you're saying that, I was thinking about how, because that's a very not like a more than just millennial, but it's a very common thing of just like of dealing with all of the existentialism, because we have so many creature comforts and so much downtime, where it's not like in the 1800s where you had nothing to do.
And we're
But
less religious.
yeah, we're less religious and more downtime. There's not things where you're constantly spending your entire day getting what you need to survive for the next day. And in having that, a lot of people are just coming to that conclusion, and it's a very relatable thing, and I know it's something that both you and I discuss frequently. Um, and it's kind of nice having these like both of these movies just being like it's okay with life is life, and this is what it is, and it's okay.
And just like
Uh,
being happy with what you're with
yeah.
life, like Evelyn's life wasn't so miserable at the laundromat, but she was her
She was,
attitude was
yeah.
now affecting everyone around her daughter, her husband, etc. Her relationships with other people, and being critical, and as somebody that can be critical, and I think my critical, when I'm critical of other people, I definitely think I emulate our dad, who is can be very critical, and like that's what it reminded me of when she immediately, like, so before Joy left, she had to make sure she told Joy that she looks fat, that she's like, oh, you're getting fat, you need to watch yourself or whatever, and that's a very parent thing to do, but it's also like it's not cool, and I think in the movie in the beginning was trying to be like make Joy accept it, and then by the end of it, I think Evelyn character understands like you need to be kind, to the people in your life, and don't your unhappiness, and don't. There's also a lot about this movie about grass is greener on the other side shit.
Mm.
And that, like, wondering what if, and what if you made
Mhm.
this choice, and what if you made this choice, how much better your life would be.
It's
But
everything
you also
everywhere.
wouldn't have,
Oh.
maybe the people in your life that you have now. If I
Mm.
would have done this, I wouldn't know this person who I love. And like you wouldn't have the family that you have.
Mm.
And I think that that's super, super relevant. Honestly, it's very relevant to things that I've been thinking about. And as much as it's this fun, cute movie, and it's full of action and jokes, like this is the core of it. It's this very heavy idea, and I think that's what makes movies good, really special. And that's honestly what makes art good art. Is like good art doesn't have to be super fucking serious or super abstract and weird and just make you uncomfortable or experimental. You can make something fun and have it like it, but it has to be something of depth at its core. And
Mm.
and I think that's something that a lot of successful Hollywood movies these days are getting away from. Like big budget blockbusters, like, because it's not safe.
Mm.
Like depth isn't exactly safe. But if it's having the balance, is you have to have the right, you have to have somebody that knows how to make it fun and knows how to make it enjoyable and knows how to make it entertaining.
Mm.
But they can still have like, there's a nugget of wisdom in there. And I think that that's what makes this so effective. It's like all of its parts are good, and like the cast and like the visual aspects, and honestly, like the more I think about the actually what happened in the film, like the physical, like what I saw on screen, it is a
Mhm.
super small movie, but you walk out of it feeling that it was huge, like it was
Exactly,
bigger than a
exactly.
Marvel movie, like
That's what I'm
that's
saying. It
yeah
handles
it
it's just as big as Multiverse of Madness, like in the way they did it. They
uh-huh
the fucking it feels so grand just because of all of the things it can cut to in these different vignettes and scenes and all these things just showing the scope, because you never feel like you have no idea where you are, if like in half this movie, you know what I mean? Like you don't know
Mm-hmm.
which world or version you're in, and in doing that, the way they did it and portrayed it, you just like makes it just feel it feels as infinite. You know, I feel like this movie in all aspects hit its title of it's everything everywhere all at once, and
All of
it's
the time.
every theme. You'll feel every emotion. You feel every fucking visual cue. It just does it so well. I had read a review which I thought was being like not sarcastic, but just being like a little extra about it, saying like it's our generation's Matrix, and I'm just like in so in
So
on.
yeah, well, let's talk. We didn't really talk about explicitly. I keep alluding to influences, and I mentioned Rick and Morty like a million times because that's like probably one of the biggest ones. Not, I don't think Rick and Morty is an influence on Swiss Army Man at all. I think it's particularly with this one, but I don't think it's just Rick and Morty. I think Rick and Morty is just like a really good representative of like the late 2010s zeitgeist, with like the multiverse and sci-fi and but it's comedy and it's nihilistic. It's kind of confronting Rick and Morty, you know, like because the Rick and Morty is not positive at the end of the day. There's positive
Yeah,
stories, but Rick it represents pure nihilism and like that nothing matters and I can do whatever the fuck I want and I'm Pickle Rick. And um, like there has a heart. There's a heart at the core of it. And like Jobu Tabaki is the who represents the nihilism and whatever. And I don't know. I think that it incorporates that and it incorporates Marvel stuff. That we brought. I said Scott Pilgrim is definitely one. There's more than that even. Oh, I want to say Spielberg stuff. I mentioned it earlier, but like also the adventure the adventure film pace I think really is Spielberg feeling, and I don't know why but then I felt it already, but then there was a whip at the end of the movie where Evelyn pulls some whip out of somewhere and or no she channels somebody who's good with a whip and then takes off a belt of one of the people she's fighting as she's going up the stairs and does this like Indiana Jones thing. And I'm like, all right, that has to be an homage after we got 8 Matrix homages.
yeah,
Like, so I don't know. That one is a stretch. So I admit that one is a big stretch. But the Matrix homages where Evelyn duck walks through cubicles just
oh,
like
I loved it.
Keanu does.
Oh, so
It
good.
wasn't shot exactly the same. Like the angle was different, but she does the Keanu duck walk straight
Yeah,
up through the cubicles and. Like stuff like that, like she stops the bullets at the end,
yeah.
and it's like honestly, at timestamp wise, is probably almost the exact time that Keanu stops the bullets in Matrix. I have no evidence to back that up, but it just felt in my soul as close.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they have the when they cut to the Alpha Wayman and he's in the like the chair thing on
it's
the
very
mobile
not like
van.
this. Yeah,
Is
yeah,
yeah, it's very it's very Matrixy, and
yeah.
like
It's very
when
Matrix.
they die in that realm, their person like that their body is like
Yeah,
they don't die, they go back to their regular
it's
self, but
like
the
a
way
joke
it
on it
feels.
because then the regular
Yeah,
Wayman
yeah.
comes back.
And they're like, oh hey, how's it going?
So, all right, here's another weird hypothesis, homage I wanted to bring up. So, the character of Waymond, the character of Waymond, the name Waymond, the only, I know that is not, there's more than, there's, I'm sure multiple people named Waymond, but the number one character that I know that's named Waymond is Waymond, from Workaholics. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The silent Asian guy from Workaholics. So,
Yeah.
so the actor who plays Waymond in Workaholics was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. He was one of they weren't a quartet because there was only 3 of them, but they were like barbershop singers, and they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
3. They had these red sweaters on, and then by the end of it, they were fighting alongside. Everybody was fighting, you know. And they were in the laundromat at that party. Everyone was like Chinese New Year's, so everyone was wearing
Yeah,
red.
yeah.
So yeah,
Wow. That's
so
cool.
I wondered if Waymond was named after Waymond from
Um,
Workaholics.
That'd be really funny. The
Yeah. I don't think I don't know if I'll be able to know, but yeah.
one day we'll put it out there and somebody will figure it out.
So you know the
Uh,
Russo brothers produced this.
I saw that at the end in the credits and I was shocked by it.
It makes I'm not shocked though, style wise.
Yeah, like I mean, we're talking about these are the guys that did Infinity War, right?
Yeah, they did it, and yeah, they did Endgame,
And then
Infinity War, Civil War,
they
and the Winter
they do
Soldier,
parts of a couple seasons of Community, weren't they a part of?
and Arrested Development.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I think that it is a perfect fit, and it's obvious. This might be even a, kind of a tryout.
Yeah,
Marvel
this is so
tryout.
good. Yeah, oh my god. I don't know. I mean, they'll probably end up doing it. The paycheck is going to be too good, but I think
It's too good of a fit. Like I think, honestly, if they
true.
can make a good one, if you give them the right property, I think they can make a good one.
Yeah,
It's just
who do you
like,
give them?
and I don't know.
That's the question.
It's like the rated R aspect of their films isn't even a vital part. Like their movies would still be good if you cut out everything dirty. And
Yeah,
F words, like cut the F words out of the script. It just like they'd be equal to me. Like it doesn't take away or anything. I'm not saying that. It's just like the movie wouldn't be worse if you got rid of the edge, the dildo fights, and
oh my god,
which was
is
hilarious,
the dildo
and the
trophy.
butt plug trophy.
Not the dildo trophy, the butt plug trophy, and the guy. I love that the options for the jump pad or launch pad are just these random insane things. The one of them was to shove the fucking butt plug award up your ass. Oh my god, there's so many funny parts of this movie that are just like you can't even describe them all because so much happens, so many things happen.
I thought
And I laughed so much throughout this entire movie.
Yeah, you're constantly laughing, and then you're crying at the end. You
Yeah.
cry parts, you laugh, and it's good. I thought I wanted to bring up the choreography and the fight scenes was a nice mix of like, because obviously Michelle Yeoh ain't a spring chicken. She probably can't be doing all the flips and fight and shit, but she's in it a lot constantly, and it's just really it's edited in a way that like you do get to see long choreographed things. It's not just a bunch of
she still got
chopped swings. Yeah, exactly. Like she's definitely still got it.
We talked about our upbringing with just like kung fu movies and stuff weeks back on the podcast, and it's just like this has that as well. Like it just
there's a little bit of like real ass martial arts choreography in there, which is cool and and nice. Always nice to see. I feel like you gotta have that if you're gonna, especially this movie is very authentically Chinese, Chinese American, but Chinese, and like it's a really interesting, cool story, and like the culture is an important part of the story to tell. And boy, we didn't talk about Jamie Lee Curtis. I just remembered.
Oh my god, she's so good. Anyone else in that role wouldn't have worked.
I think so too. I think that this is probably she's been in a lot of great roles. Even if the movie's not good, she's always good. She's kind of one of those people.
Yeah, she gives it her all.
And just like she never phones it in, and she is just always fun and in fun roles. I just keep like thinking since Knives Out, everything I see her in, I just love it.
Oh my god, yeah, I know. She's so funny in this. Like she's so perfect for the character. I love the scene where she gets taken over by somebody else's like consciousness, and it just shows like her stomach go from just like normal and just kind of like relaxed and like bloated out, and then the other person who's like a kick-ass fighter takes over, and it's just like their whole like body form posture changes.
Yeah,
it's so super cool. That she's so funny and ridiculous, and just how she talks, and she's such an asshole. But at the end, she gets her redeeming moments at the end, and all the stuff with they're married together with the hot dog hands. Like, oh my
I know, because
god,
it was like because we didn't bring it up, but Evelyn has to confront that her daughter is gay, and then one of Evelyn's other versions of herself in the multiverse is gay, and it's a universe where people have hot dogs for fingers, and they come mustard and ketchup on each other out of their fingers. And
Oh, so nuts.
that was like, this is the most Rick and Morty universe out of all of them. And I'm sure
Yeah,
if they had
yeah.
the budget, they would have did more than just hot dog fingers. But
What do you? I like even give this a $50 million budget, which is still considered low for how like big of a scale this movie
oh,
is.
they
And
would have
it's like,
found a way to use it. I think they just would have
oh, for
they would have
sure.
developed more of the alternate universe. They would have had more
Yeah,
radical alternate universes, I think.
yeah.
Because that was the
Man.
thing, is like it could reuse a lot of the same sets because it was basically all the same places and all the same people. They all looked the same. They just, maybe something was different, because then they did explain that there's a new universe for each decision, so that would make a bunch of similar universes, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was
What a
good. I think
ride.
let's score this
Right.
mother effer.
I hope you don't think mine's a hot take, but I think you know what I'm gonna give it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take.
All right.
I
I
don't
don't
think it's
know.
a hot take.
Because I feel like I'm the only one that has been given it a 5 out of 5 that I know.
You've been
And
throwing a lot of fives out recently. I
I've
will
been. Didn't you just give a 5 the last week
Yeah, I
or the
gave
last
him. I
episode?
think it last week was a 5 and a 4.5, probably. Yeah, but these are like,
Uh,
classics.
this is a future classic.
No, I
This
think you're
is.
right. I think you're
I think
right.
this will be brought up in school. I think this is especially what you can do with no money, like or low money.
Yeah, what is the
It's just
budget of it again?
25 million.
Yes, I'm blown away by the 3 million of Swiss Army Man. Really,
So I can
that's
see
the
that.
real.
So from-
Yeah, that's
'cause
true. I can
they just
see
went
it.
to an island and just shot for like a month. Like they just took a whole team of people and just went there and just shot it all out
And just
in like
build
a month.
a bunch of
Yeah.
them sets.
Yeah,
Those
so
aren't
it
even
was
full sets.
really
Yeah.
cheap. Yeah, very cheap to make. You're paying more to get people to the location and to just keep the like bring the trailers and stuff for the actors than you are for like really anything else.
There's
making
only
that
2
movie.
actors during most of the movie.
Exactly. Like it's so
It's
that I get.
the premise is perfect. Yeah, I guess you're right. But this doesn't feel like a
This
$25 million movie. This feels like
no, I thought this was
a
40
hundred
to
million.
50
Yeah, it feels like $100
at
million
least.
movie.
Yeah, I think this competes with $100+ million movies, but realistically, I thought this was at least 50. Like I thought this was at least 50 because it's A24 and they don't have big, they don't have a lot of money. They don't put a lot of money into their films or they do, but that's just not the way of filmmaking that they do. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's more about quality over quantity, so they're choosy with how much money they give on stuff. But this, I feel like if this makes as much money as I hope it makes, I think this is gonna blow A24 up and to have a lot more cash, disposable cash to and feel more confident in spending more money on bigger movies.
All right. Did you score it? I don't think
I
you
gave
actually scored it.
I gave it 5.
Yeah, I think everyone knows you gave it a 5. If you did score it already, I apologize, but I didn't hear it. I
No,
think
it's
we
all
just
good.
talked around the 5. Okay, well, I'm gonna give it a 4.5. And I think that I think that the ending honestly was the only thing that was maybe a little long feeling. It wasn't like long. It's just like, sometimes with movies where it's like the movie knows act wise it's gonna start ending, but the ending's like extra long, so then that's what makes it become 2 hours and 17 minutes. It's not
Mm.
that like the acts were a little long in the sections. It ends up just being the ending or the beginning or like one of the like extended epilogue, for instance. We've that kind of a thing. This doesn't have any of that, but I don't know. There was like that was like kind of my only real critique, is I felt like I noticed in my mind that we are in an ending phase of the movie for a while. And it's just a key, like another thing would be introduced or another thing would happen. And that's it though. And it's not like, that's my only thing. And I only gave it, that's the only reason it's not perfect. But I wouldn't argue with anyone who likes it, gives it a 5. I was just looking at Letterboxd at what my people are giving it, and it's all between 4 and 5. Nobody's below. I think there's maybe one curmudgeon, maybe 3.5.
I don't know how you don't like this. I feel like that, like I said, it is a lot if you're not into movies that can be like overstimulating, especially for this is 2 hours and 17 minutes long, which is it doesn't feel short, but it is, or it doesn't feel long. I'm sorry, but it is it is a amount of time. But I think this is I think anybody could love this. This is an easy watch for anybody who's into films of any kind.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's Best Boys. Next week we are doing Robert Eggers, the Robert Eggers trilogy, and I don't. When we are recording this, the Northman is already out, and it has bombed already. But it's
Oh no!
yes, it
It
is
looks so
really
good.
bombing. So please go out and see it if you're a fan of Mr. Eggers. I am a huge fan of The Witch and the Lighthouse. I only didn't get to go see it because of all the shit we've had going on. And I didn't get to see Everything Everywhere All at Once when I wanted to because we had a family thing going on. And then, so this kind of took the Northman slot. So it's nothing against the Northman, Hollywood. I want to see it. I don't know if it's good yet, but I want to see it. So that's what we're going to be doing for next episode. And we're going to do the trilogy. We're going to see The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. So it's time to get serious. We got all that fun out of our system for Kory. We thank Kory for introducing the fun, or this would be a very dour and dreary show. But we are back next week with the dark shit. And I'm really excited because it's one of my favorite new filmmakers, along with Daniels and a few others. But yeah, Robert Eggers. See you next week. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on all the things. Make sure you like the videos and interact in any way you can. It really boosts our signal. And follow me on Slob Thomas. Follow him at Kory with a Story. Kory, you got a sign off?
No, just if you haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, go see it. And then while you're seeing it, the trailer for The Northman plays. And if that trailer doesn't sell you on that movie, nothing will, because it looks fucking nuts.
I saw it at the Manor, so I didn't. They don't do big trailers there, which I love.
Oh, gotcha. I was.
I like seeing trailers, but when it's a half hour of trailers, I want to just die.
Yeah, I feel you. The Alamo Draft House I saw this at was I think we had like 15 minutes of trailers. That was it. They do more like more like event movie style theater, I guess.
All right. See you next week, folks, or whenever. 2 weeks, whenever. You never know.